Full padded practice today, a lot of hard work. We worked against each other a lot in a 2-minute situation and some inside run. And anytime you have a chance to do hard work against one another in the upper units, that's good. We know we're going to be encountering a very physical, well-coached, excellent football program in the University of Iowa. So it's important for us to keep our focus and work against one another, try to replicate as many looks as we can get. We do have a couple of injury reports. James Price will be out for about 6 weeks. He's got a broken clavicle, and so that's disappointing, but we'll have him back. We're in hopes to have Austin Ford back sometime. But that's kind of where we're at on the injury front. We still, got Shiloh Windsor coming back from concussion protocol. But outside of that, it was a hard practice. We'll take a look at the tape. Certainly with some good things and some things we've got to improve on.
With James being out for 6 weeks, does I know when you have the depth chart, John Aquali's behind him. Does he step up more, or is it a group effort? What kind of how will the pecking order kind of go moving forward?
Great question. Some of it's just going to depend on the down and distance and the personnel grouping we're in. Certainly, James is a guy that we had counted on a lot. John Aquali is a guy that's played a lot of football around here, so we feel good about him. I think Jared Scott's another guy that's got big presence as well.
The new depth chart, I know I saw Garrett Kroll has moved up a little bit. I guess what have you seen from him in his time here and his improvement?
Well, he's put on about 25 pounds, and he's got good length. I don't know, he's 6'4", and very aggressive, and so he's played well in the spring. He's had a good fall camp, and so he deserves an opportunity to get some more reps with the upper units.
When you released depth chart, was there any surprises to you when when that came out, as far as guys, whether they're backups or starters? Were there any real big surprises to you there?
Well, certainly Logan Harris was a surprise. That was a pleasant surprise for us, and I know he's been working with the upper group for quite some time. But really, when you went into it, he was a good high school player, and I think he developed from his fall up until now. So that was a little bit surprise, and then also Alonzo was a surprise as well. Both those two guys were not heavily recruited. I believe we were the only FBS school to offer both those two guys, so that was somewhat of a surprise. A lot of the other spots, not really. We had grounded our guys extensively during spring, so I think the biggest portion was maybe some of those young players.
You mentioned yesterday, like with Logan Harris and Jabari Jackson, that were shot putters and have heavy hands. And I know just because if you're an accomplished shot putter doesn't mean you're going to be a great football player. But how do those two things kind of correlate and go hand in hand, and maybe help guys like that?
Well, it's been our experience through the years. High school guys that have explosion either through shot put or discus, particularly for a lineman, there's a pretty good connect the dots. Most of the time they have lower body explosion and upper body strength, and that's a good combination for a football player. Some of it comes down to their football IQ, and both those guys, it translated from being an explosive field guy in track to translating those skills over into football. We're well pleased with both those two men.
I believe at defensive end you guys have Josiah on the one side and Carl and KP on the other. Do you like to have kind of the speed guys together, or is it just something Josiah has shown you guys?
Josiah has been a steady player the whole time, and he's put on some good weight. I think he put on like 25 pounds of lean muscle mass, and he's been a real taskmaster at what he does, and so we feel like that combination is the best. However, everybody plays tons of defensive linemen. All those guys are going to play. Milo, you said, has kind of still established himself as the #1 guy, and I know, all the backs you have are not like what Brian Hill gave you, but I'm not asking for your game plans. I know you're going to want to run the ball, and that's an important part, but will it be kind of different, or can you explain that, or will it be a lot of the same types of things we saw with Brian the last few years as far as how you guys run the ball? Well, we're certainly not going to change our whole structure in the running game. I mean, there's a long pattern of history of what we do. However, every time you've got different players, you do different things with different players. What is probably going to be different is the number of carries that each one of those guys get. Last year we fed the ball to Brian. He was our primary running back, and that was well deserved. I think you'll see all three of these guys play, and they all do different things.
You went pretty physical today. Do you do that one or two more times as camp winds down, or you dial it back, or how do you?
We're going to go.
We're going to go?
We're going. We're going forward. I can tell you that. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks.